Hi, greetings. It's me, Dr. Paul Gerhardt, and today I want to talk about strengthening your sales presentation. As I've been saying throughout this whole series, you may not actually be in sales and you're just looking for a job and have to do a job interview. But we're always doing things, no matter what our position is, throughout an organization to be presenting ideas and getting buy-in from other people. And if we are in sales, this video should be of particular interest to you. So I hope you find the information useful as I give you some ideas on how to strengthen your presentation. Of course, we all have bought things from many different types of organizations throughout our lifetime. But have you ever noticed what the best salespeople do in order to help people make the right decision to buy? Well, it really has to do with saying things the right way and having the right kind of evidence to help you decide whether or not it's right for you. I mean, many times when you go into the grocery store, there are people who are cooking, products for you to try. That's selling. If you like the product, you may not buy it right then and there, but chances are you'll come back and buy it at a later time. In the selling world, you obviously want people to make the best decision for them. And so the more senses that you can appeal to in your selling, the more people are going to want to buy whatever product that you have. And you can't force a product on everybody. People need to be able to make that decision for themselves, but it is your job, if you are in sales or if you're doing selling on a concept or idea or a product, that you help them make the best decision for them. And it's really all about having people have a full sense of value. There are always alternatives for every decision that you make, even with time and with money too. And so these are things that you as a salesperson can help people really evaluate what it is that they're getting and what it isn't. So we remember things according to each of our different senses. According to the literature, what we have found the most powerful of all the senses for memorization and for selling purposes really is sight. The second most is hearing, and sight is about 82% of the senses that we use to making decisions. Hearing is about 11%. The third most is 4%, and that's the smell. Touch is only 2%, and taste is only 1%. So you have to remember that we retain about 20% of what we hear, and we retain about 50% of what we see and hear. So when you are selling, that really means that you've got to have visual aids in order to help make the sale happen. And you need to be able to say things the right way where people really can understand from their own perspective. Maybe you're doing it through stories or examples, but they're hearing and they're seeing things that make it memorable to them, where they're going to make the buy. I remember watching television with the O.J. Simpson trials, and Johnny Cochran, the attorney, said, "If the glove don't fit, you must acquit." And they had a demonstration of O.J. Simpson trying to put on this black glove, and it didn't fit. And so that was a very, very memorable experience, but it left an impression on the juror's mind that, oh my gosh, that's clearly the glove that the murderer used, and it doesn't fit him, so it can't be him. And so being able to say, if the glove don't fit, you must acquit, and then having the visual of O.J. Simpson trying to put that glove on really kind of helped solidify that he wasn't guilty. So we know that we can learn from professionals if we have our critical thinking hats on and figure out what it is that they are doing and being effective at. And attorneys that are guided to make the most amount of money because they've got the most winning stretch of court cases We could learn a lot from them just by watching what they do and really listening and critically thinking, what is this person doing in order to make his or her case? So it really is important that we use creativity to make a vivid impression on our customers. We need to make sure that our presentations are different and stronger. And we need to find strategic ways to use, media that appeals to the buyer. And so in this day and age, there's so many different ways to connect with people. And I want to remind you that different customers have different social styles, and the more that you can appeal to each of those social styles, and check out my video on social styles if you haven't checked it out, the more effect that you can have on them. So if you want to strengthen your presentation, keep in mind the different social styles of people, like expressives. They really work well when you are presenting strong, intense colors, lots of photos, cartoons, fancy fonts, and positive images. Analyticals, like clean and simple, and just a list of references and lots of details. Amiables, they like things with people and relatively slow moving presentations. And then drivers really want crisp, professional visuals, bold lettering to highlight important points. So if you really understand who your clientele is, then you can customize your presentation to meet their needs. And of course, you're probably, when you're selling to many people, you're probably going to have some of each. And so it really is important that you incorporate each of those into your presentation. So all success really can come by luck. But it really comes a lot better when you have a very clear strategy. And so with strategy, you have to consider, how many people are going to be attending. Which stage of the buying process are these people in? What information are they going to need? And what type of situation is it that you're working with? Verbal tools, when you are giving presentations, make sure that you're painting pictures with words, and you're telling stories, and you're using sense of humor. Those are the verbal tools that you can use to strengthen your presentation. Visual tools. Have lots of graphics and charts and models and samples and GIFs, catalogs and brochures, photos, illustrations, ads and maps. Really make sure that you are supporting what you are trying to sell with visual aids that make people go, oh yeah, that makes sense. Oh, that sounds really good. And you're using real authentic information. You're not trying to fake people out. You're trying to help them make the best decision for them. Testimonials are one of the most powerful visual tools that you can use to help people make the best decision. If other people are happy and satisfied with that product, then most likely they're gonna want to make that sale. So when you have a satisfied buyer, ask if they could write a testimonial for you. Hand out copies of letters from those satisfied customers. If you have websites, obviously you can put testimonials on there too. So carefully match a satisfied user with that of a prospect in order to help do it. Having test results can also help you help people make the best decisions. Having third-party testers attest to how well your product or service stood up against the competition is a really important way. You can use all sorts of appropriate media to get things across. And so create a portfolio of visual aids. Maybe it's videos. Maybe you're bringing a laptop or an iPad to a presentation to help people get in the mood of really being able to understand the value that your product or service has. So there's a lot of different ways in order for you to really get your point across. PowerPoints are very impressive. Sometimes there are document cameras that people use. Electronic whiteboards where you're writing on it and you're making connections. Those are really impressive. Easels with pad and paper can help, make people really think about the product or service. I mean, you really have to appeal to your buyers' senses, and so demonstrating things is important. And you've got to prepare when you're doing a demonstration. There may be dead time. You have to be aware of what people have already seen and haven't seen. And so you do this by asking the right questions. Have you seen this before? If everybody says yes, don't show it again. People's time is valuable. Having the right handouts to give to people at the right time. If you give people a handout at the start of the presentation, you're making people choose whether or not to read the handout or pay attention to what you have to say. So a lot of times timing really is important with when you present things. Once you are in the process of making the sale, you're going to have to create a document like a request for proposal, and so in that you have to find out the specifications and what the desired needs of the product and delivery schedules for the company. An executive summary is something that often goes into a written proposal. That's a 1 or 2 page summary where you've got the total cost minus the total savings, a description of the problem that's being solved, a description of the proposed solution, and a description of the current situation. So when writing proposals, make sure that your writing is polished. You are focusing on the results that the prospect can gain from going with your proposal. You're still convincing the prospect about the quality and how you're satisfying a particular need. You're comparing products in terms of sales with competitors. You really want to make sure that you're focusing on the value, and so you look at cost of the proposal by offsetting with added value. Value proposition. Are you clear what's important to your prospect? Have you done a cost-benefit analysis to show this product will last longer than my competitors, and here's how many units you get? Return on investment is really important. Payback period, if they're making payments, and they're trying to make sure that you're showing that when they purchase your product or service that they are getting a return that makes it worth their while. Net present value and opportunity cost. Whenever somebody makes a decision, they're foregoing using that money for something else, and so you have to help people understand what they're getting and what they're not getting, and very clearly you're illuminating the benefits in an economic and an emotional way. So there's always alternatives for every product or service. So make sure that when you're creating your document and you're illustrating value proposition, that you're thinking long term. You want to have a long-term relationship with your prospect. You want to be their personal problem solver, and that means you really need to have solid, clear information. You're doing a simple cost benefit analysis. You're listing out the cost to the buyer and the savings that the buyer can expect on the investment. And calculate it out so that they can clearly see what the benefits are of doing it. Do a comparative cost benefit analysis. Compare the present situation costs and the value proposed solution with the seller's product with a competitor's product. You really have to help people make, without a doubt in their mind, make the best decision possible. And it comes down to return on investment. It really is about showing net profits or net savings that are expected to be giving if they buy your product or service. Net profits, return on investment is net profits or savings divided by what the actual investment is. And so doing the math helps them really be able to collect data and be very clear about costs or savings that the buyer can expect. people's time is very valuable, and very often helping people make the best decisions by making it easy for them to be able to see, their return on investment. You're including discounts in your invoices and paperworks. You're helping them identify realistic investment opportunities, and you're comparing the returns from things. You're showing profit margin, that if you're selling a product and then they're reselling it, you're helping understand possible inventory turnover, at annual sales divided by average retail price of inventory on hand. You're really helping them understand how efficient it is to manage their inventory. So there's a lot of things that you can do, but you have to be confident when you're selling to your customers. Know your audience well. Know what you're talking about, inside and out, and what your competitors' products have. Bring helpful visual aids. Be yourself, don't be fake. People like people who are authentic. Make sure you get a good night's sleep before you do it. You have to be fresh, because when you're selling, people are going to ask questions, and you need to be able to answer questions in an effective way and know what you're talking about. And people feed off of the energy and your enthusiasm. So make sure you're friendly and you're getting other people enthused about your product or service. And people need to be feeling happy about their product or service that you're selling. So practice really makes perfect when you are making a presentation and you're making a sale. Again, I want to remind you, make sure that you are prepared when you're doing your sale. You have visual aids, and you're helping make it easy for people to buy your product or service, because you've done the math, you've figured out what's important to them, and then you're illustrating these with the right documents to support your selling process. All right, I've talked a lot about selling and how to create the most powerful selling experience possible by doing your homework and making sure you've got the right visual aids and you've done the right preparation. Hope you've enjoyed my video. Thank you so much for your valuable time. I hope that you have a great day, because only you get to choose how you feel about it. I'm Dr. Paul.